Hi, good evening. I hope you're doing great and I'm audible to you. Am I? Right. So today we are going to learn about lesson inheritance. We are going to learn about inheritance. One of the important lesson for your O level is inheritance. So we will be talking about the lesson inheritance in detail. You will be learning to write the Punnett square. You have to learn some scientific names. So these things and everything you will be learning in detail. But in addition to that, next month you will be able to access free recap seminar. There will be a recap seminar. So like important lessons like unit 16, grade 10, important lessons like whatever the lessons that is important for your O level, you will have a free recap seminar on upcoming month. We will be updating it. Okay, we will be updating about the posters very soon. If you are really eager to recap the lessons along with some questions and with some Google forms, so I will be updating Google forms to test your knowledge and everything, then definitely you have to join next month. I will update the poster about it. So this is a small idea, small announcement regarding that. And the people who has not received the recording or who has not received the tunes, please make sure you can text me via WhatsApp. I'll send you the tute later after the class, right? Okay. Okay, so let's get started about the lesson inheritance. So when you talk about the lesson inheritance, this is one of the interesting lesson in biology. And also I can tell you one of the way that you can learn easily than physics, than chemistry, you can learn. So all what you have to remember is to what? To keep your mindset free from other things. Don't watch the TV and study. Stay in a place where it is quiet, calm, and make your intention that the lesson is going to be interesting. So whatever it is, according to your intention only, that's going to be interesting, or whether it's not going to be interesting, right? So let's get started with the lesson inheritance. So before I get started, I wanted to tell you something. Now, I will be teaching you a part of the lesson. Okay. So once I teach you the part of the lesson only, I will be able to clear your doubts. It will be really complicated for me to clear your doubts while I'm teaching. So first you have to listen, then you can note down whatever the doubts you have, and later you can ask me. Okay. So then whenever I ask whether you have any doubt, at that time you can spot out your doubts, so I can make sure that you are leaving the class without any doubts, right? So for the reason that I don't want to miss any of your chats, I'm requesting you, once I asked whether you have any doubts, at that time you can reply me. Other than that, my focus won't be there in the chat. I will be just focusing on the whiteboard. So same as that, you also should be focusing the whiteboard, right? So let's get started with the lesson. So today we are going to study about the lesson inheritance, right? We are going to study about the inheritance. So before we talk about the inheritance, you have to learn about something. Let's talk about a situation. From the situation, we'll learn about inheritance in detail, right? Okay, now say for example, there was a couple. Okay, so there was a couple. Let's say, for example, this is the let's say, for example, this is a couple and this is the boy and this is the girl. Okay, now say, for example, the lady here, she has like brown skin. Let's say she is having a brown skin, as well as her husband also having a darker than her skin. Now, brown skin is like tan color, right? So let's say this her husband has a very dark color skin. Okay, so dark color skin. Now what happened? They are very good couple. They are very happily living in a village. So one day, they like after few months, they gave birth to a baby girl. They gave birth to a baby girl. Now once this baby girl started to grow, she started to grow. So when she started to grow, she realized, the baby, the girl I mean the baby girl, she realized that she is fairer than her parents. She is what? Fairer than her parents. Now this girl is thinking, Mama, why am I looking way fairer than you parents? So she was asking, why am I looking more fairer? What can be the reason? So she was asking. Even parents were thinking, okay, I'm a brown skin. Mother is thinking, I'm a brown skin. My husband is a dark skin. But how did my child become a fairer one? How it happened? So she started thinking. Okay, so what happened is, so now girl is also thinking. Now the people outside also started criticizing. So they were saying, this is not your baby, maybe someone else baby. So they were like started criticizing. So what happened? So then this girl also was thinking, why doesn't I look more like my parents? So she started feeling insecure. So now what happened? One day this family went to their grandparents. That means they visited their grandparents' family. So what happened? Now these parents, that means the mother and the father, were talking to the grandparents of this girl. Grandparents of this girl. Now then what happened is, now the grandmother, only grandmother is there, the grandfather has been passed away. Think, the grandfather has been passed away. Then this girl is worried. This girl is worried. Now what happened? Now grandmother was thinking, okay dear, why are you worried? What happened to you? Then why aren't you talking to me? The grandmother was asking from the kid. Then this lady and the husband was saying that, no, mom, we are worried about her skin tone because we are not looking exactly. That means my child is not looking exactly like us. So people started judging us. Then the grandmother was saying, she was saying, no, your father is fair. That means grandmother is saying that the grandfather who passed away, he was very, very fair and he is an Englishman. So that means what was happening? Then the parents were like shocked. Is it? Because they haven't seen the grandfather. They haven't seen their fathers. So because of that, they were thinking, is it really? Is it really he is fair? Then the grandmother said, yes, he is fair when he was young. So that was the reason your child has got the color of her grandfather. From this, what do you need to understand? From this, what do you need to understand? Sometimes we don't get our genetic information from our parents. Sometimes children inherit the traits of their grandparents, even if their parents don't have those traits themselves. So you need to understand. Inheritance means what? Inheritance means you can say that sometimes our genetic information can be gone from one generation to another generation. Sometimes it can skip one generation to another generation. Like what? Now the daughter, this person's daughter is what? She's a brown skin. But did she even get a fair skin like her father? No, but her child got the fair skin. So which means you need to understand. From that day, the parents were thinking, yes. So this is because of what? Because of the inheritance. So what do you need to understand? So inheritance means sometimes our generation wise, our genes can be passed from one generation to another generation. There are times it can skip one generation to another generation. So this we call it as what? Inheritance. So from this story, what did you understand? So inheritance means what? We are saying about the traits, the genetic traits that is being transferred from one generation to another generation. So this is what we call it as what? Inheritance. Did you understand what is inheritance right now? Yes? Did you get an idea? Right. Okay. So this is, we call it as what? We call these as inheritance. So from this, you understood what is inheritance. Right. Now let's talk about a situation like this and then we'll get into the lesson. Right. Okay. Now what you need to understand is, now let's take the same example. Now what is happening is, now here you have the father and here you have the mother. Now say, when the baby is going to form, does only mother is contributing to form the baby? That means, is the mother is the only person who is contributing to form the baby? No, right? We have studied in science how baby is formed, right? So when we were small age, we used to think, we used to imagine, like the mother who gives birth should be similar to the father or similar to the mother. So we think, how does the baby get the same feature like father? How the baby gets the same feature like father, or mixture of mother and father? We used to think. So you need to understand something here. So now what is happening? Now, when a baby is being formed, mother will be giving ovum, while the father will be producing what? He will be producing sperm. So, when the ovum and the sperm combine together, then only they will be forming a baby, right? Now, in this ovum, in this sperm, what do they have? What do they have? So, you know that each and every human, now if you take the human, every human has 46 chromosome. Now, what do you mean by chromosome? Like, you guys might thinking, what is chromosome? Okay, when we was in grade 10, we have a beginning of the lesson, we got an idea about chromosome. But in this lesson, you will be studying about the chromosome in detail. Okay, so mainly when you talk about chromosome, inside the chromosome, what do you have? You have the DNA. Now, what do you mean by DNA? DNA means what? The substance that is transferred from what? The substance, the information of your mother, information of your father, that is being transferred in the form of what? DNA. So, DNA is inside where? It is inside the chromosome. That means we have 46 chromosome in our body. So, when the mother is contributing to form a baby, she will be giving half of her chromosome. Like here, father also will be giving but half of his chromosome. So 23 combining together, only they will be forming the baby. So now you understood how is our genetic traits are being transferred. So listen to me carefully now. What do you need to understand? Now you have studied about DNA, right? You have studied about DNA. Now, say for example, now you know DNA is made up of what? It is made up of nucleotides. Now, DNA means what? Deoxyribonucleotides. Now, what does DNA have? What does DNA have? DNA have genetic information. So DNA have what? They have the genetic information. Now, all this genetic information, for example, if I am fair, the information needed to make my skin fair is present in the DNA. If my eye color is black, that means the information is present in where? DNA. If my hair is color, if my hair color is black color, so where is this information is present? It is present in the DNA. Now, the DNA is the one who will be deciding whether I should be tall or short. So every details of my body is present where? It is present in my DNA. So that means you need to understand all the genetic information needed for the baby. That means now if a baby has to be born with the contribution of the father, contribution of the mother, so that means the mother's DNA is given to the baby, father's DNA is given to the baby. So that's how the DNA will be representing ourselves, like whether we are fair or tall or short. So all these things will be taken place. Now, what do you need to understand? What do you need to understand? So in DNA is the one who is being transferring what? Genetic characteristics from one generation to another generation. So that means you need to understand DNA is the one that helps in the process of what? That helps in the process of inheritance. So now what is the reason for inheritance? Who is the main reason for inheritance? Your DNA. Did you understand that? Did you understand that? Yes. Did you get an idea? Right. Okay. Now look here. Now what you need to understand is, now you know that now if a baby is going to be created, that means your mother, not only your mother is giving DNA, your father is also giving DNA. So that means when you are born, you can be either more of your what? You can be either more of your characteristics can be similar to your mother, more of your similar characteristics can be related to your father. So sometimes you can have a combined characteristics of your mother and your father. Sometimes certain characteristics you can get from your father or mother. So say for example, like when we talk about DNA, say for example, now your mother is having blue color eye. Say for example, your mother is having a blue color eye. Your father is having a brown color eye. Your father is having a brown color eye. Okay, now if you are obtaining blue color eyes, if you are obtaining blue color eyes, that means now you have obtained the characteristic from who? Whose characteristic are you representing? Yes, whether you're representing your mother's characteristic or are you representing your father's characteristic. If you have a blue color eye, yes, very good. That's your mother's characteristic. So the person, the substance who is responsible to carry your information, that person we call it as what? DNA. Is everyone okay with that? Yes. Is everyone okay with that? Now, did you understand clearly about DNA, the function of DNA? Yes? Okay, great. Now, let's move to the next part. Now, you know that now this DNA is a long thread, right? Now, this DNA is a long thread. You know, this DNA will look like a long thread. So, what is the structure of the DNA? A long thread. Now, if this DNA is wound around, if the DNA is wound around by the histone protein. So there is a protein, we call it as what? Histone protein. Now, if the DNA combines with the histone protein, you will be forming chromosome. So, how is the chromosome is made? Combination of histone protein plus the DNA, you are forming chromosome. So, that means what will be the structure of the chromosome? The chromosome will look like this. The chromosome will look like this. So, when you have the DNA like this, so you know this is how the DNA will look like. So when you take the DNA, if a DNA is combining with the histone protein, they will be forming a structure. We call that as chromosome. So you know that a human will have how many chromosomes? 46, which means 23 pair of chromosome. If a baby has to be formed, half of the chromosome will be given to what? To the baby. Right. Now you got an idea what is the DNA and how chromosome is made. You already know an idea. Now we have to study about something called what is gene. So you need to study about what is gene. So let's talk about what is gene, because now when we talk about the word gene, before we call this gene as a factor. We call this gene as what? We call it as factors. So now when you talk about gene, so which is at initial stage, they name as what? They name as factor. Earlier days, we don't call it as gene. We call it as factors. Nowadays, in the modern life, we call it as a gene. Right. Now we are going to study about what is a gene. Okay, what is a gene? So listen to me carefully. Now say, for example, now you have the chromosome. Okay, you have the chromosome. Now inside the chromosome, what do you have? You have the DNA, the genetic information that is needed to form an organism. That is what? That is stored where? That is stored in the DNA. Say you need the genetic information to form the eye color. Now say for example, you need the genetic information to form what? To form the eye color. So the genetic information in eye color stored where? Now when we talk about DNA, now DNA is made up of what? Nucleotide, right? Nucleotide. Now if you take the nucleotide, what are the three components of nucleotide? What are the three components of nucleotide? Phosphate group, pentose sugar, along with nitrogenous base. Now, if you take the nucleotide in the DNA, this nitrogenous base is the main person to store all the genetic information. Now, you know very well, those who have chose ICT. If you have chose ICT, you know this coding, something called coding. Now, let me tell you the one who doesn't know about it, but just understand. Now, say for example, if you take the nitrogenous base in DNA, what are the 4 types of nitrogenous base that we have in the DNA? You have already studied this, chapter 1. Number 1, we call it as adenine. So that adenine, we call it as A. Then we have what? Thymine. We have the thymine. So thymine, we represent it by T. Then you have the guanine. So guanine, we represent it by the G. We represent it by the G. Then when you talk about cytosine, so cytosine, we represent it by the C. So that means we have AT and CG. So if you take it as a pair, now these are the codings. That means now these are the nitrogenous base who are responsible in storing your genetic information. Now say for example, this is my mother. Now if my mother is having a blue color eye, automatically DNA will give a code for the blue color eye. Let's say for example ATCGAATT. So this is going to be the code that is given to my mother's eye color. Okay, now say for example this is my father who has a brown color eye, and let's say for example for my father's eye color there is a DNA code. Let's say AGCGAA, like we'll say AAGG, something like this. Okay, now say for example now I am going to board. So when I am about to board, before I board, my body will decide, should I take this code or should I take this code? Now if my body is taking this code, that means what is the color of my eye? I will have a blue color. So you need to understand DNA. In your DNA you have nitrogenous base. The information needed to form the characteristic of your color is forming where? It is forming inside the DNA. So the information is formed in where? It is forming the nitrogenous base. So you have to understand, in our body automatically without computers, we have what? We have stored the codings of my parents. That means, say now, am I having only this code in my body? No, I have both of my code. My father's coding also there, my mother's coding also there. But my body will decide, should I take this coding or should I take this coding? So if my body is selecting this code, I will have the blue color eye. Now, did you understand? Did you understand that? Clear with that? Got the idea? Right. Okay. Now look here. Now what is happening is you need to understand. Now what is our question is about? How DNA is storing our information. So DNA is storing the information in the form of what? Nitrogenous base. It is being what? It is being what do you say? It is being stored in the form of what? Nitrogenous base. So that means the part of your DNA is storing the information of what? Eye color, skin color, hair color, whether you are tall, whether you are short. So that means, now I told you eye color, skin color, hair color, no. So that information, we call it as gene. So what do you mean by gene? What do you mean by gene? Gene means a part of DNA that determine the specific characteristic, that we call it as what? DNA. So what is DNA? That means what is the gene? What do you mean by gene? Gene is a part of DNA. So that means that is determining what? Specific characteristic like hair color, skin color, whether you are tall or short, your nose is a punch nose or sharp nose. So everything is what? Everything is collected inside the DNA. That is, we call it as what? Gene. So remember, whatever that should be made from your body, your blood group, your eye color, your hair color, skin color, your body protein, enzymes, all the information, everything that is needed to make you present where? It is present in your DNA. So what is the starting step to form your body? is DNA. So now what is happening? How many chromosomes are you getting from your mother? You are getting 23 chromosomes from your mother, and you are getting 23 chromosomes from your father. Now tell me clearly, okay? Now say, now I told you my mother's eye color is blue color, father's eye color is brown color. Now say I have got what? Now I have got blue color eyes. No, so before that, let me ask you a question. Okay, let me ask you a question. Okay, now say for example, now there are a group of students. Okay, there are a group of students. Now in this group of students, now say there is a gang. Okay, there is a gang. So in this gang, if this boy is the leader in the gang, let's say if this boy is leader in the gang, and rest of the people are like a very innocent people, but the leader is very strong, very, what do you say, let's say for example, this person is one who is representing in front of everyone. So that means now teacher comes to the class, teacher know only this guy's name. Teacher knows only this guy's name. So which means what you need to understand? That means whenever you take a group, in that group, the highlighted person is what? Domination person. That means dominating person. That means the teacher only knows this guy's name. The rest of the guy's name she forgot. That means those people names are hidden in her brain. So that what you need to understand? What do you need to understand now? Who is dominating? Who is powerful here? Now the one who is represented in front, we call that person as the powerful. Teacher know only that person's name. So we call that as what? Dominant. We call that as what? Dominant. The rest of the people's names are not shown out, but they're still in this gang. They're still in the gang, but those people names are shown out. Teacher doesn't know much about this child. So that means those people, we call it as what? Recessive. So what do you mean by dominant? Dominant means what? The characteristic that is shown out. The characteristic that is hidden inside our body, we call it as recessive characteristic. Now I told you my mother is having a blue eye, my father is having a brown eye, I got the blue eye. That means whose characteristic is shown out in me? Whose characteristic is shown out in my body? That means my mother's characteristic. That means my mother's characteristic is a dominant characteristic. Or is it a recessive characteristic? It is a dominant characteristic. That means my father's characteristic, is it inside my body? Yes. But is it shown up? No, it is hidden. So we call that as what? Recessive characteristic. Now, did you understand the word dominant and did you understand the word of recessive? Yes, got the idea? Step by step, you will be learning new names and then we will be moving forward, right? Okay. Now, listen to me carefully. Now, what is happening? Now, the person who is having most of their father's characteristic, means who is genetically powerful, is your father, is your mother, your father. So most of your father's characteristic is what? Now say I look exactly like my father, means my mother and father, both of them contributed to form me. So if they have contributed to form me, both of their genes should be there, right? Both of their characteristic are there. But whose characteristic is in me, like showing out? That is my father. So which means who is powerful genetically? My father. Is my mother's characteristic is there still? Yes, there is high chance my child can get the characteristic of my mother or characteristic of my father or somewhere around. So you need to understand, if the characteristic is shown out, that characteristic is the dominant characteristic. If the characteristic is not even shown out, it is hidden inside your body, that we call it as what? Recessive characteristics. So we will study about the dominant, recessive part later. But now I hope you understood the characteristics of what? Dominant and recessive. Now say for example, now you might be a mixture of your father's characteristic, mixture of your mother's characteristic. That means your mother's characteristic and your father's characteristic are what? Combined together. So we call that as what? we call that as gene linkage. We call that as what? Gene linkage. So linkage means what is happening? The characteristics are being combined, right? Now we got an idea what is a dominant characteristic. We got an idea what is recessive characteristic. We understood what is the gene, how DNA is storing our information, and we got an idea what is a chromosome, how is these chromosomes are made, and we got an idea what is gene linkage. Now we are going to study step by step. Okay, now listen to me carefully. Okay, so I hope you understood. If there's any doubt, you can let me know. Hope clearly, right? Hopefully you are clear, right? Right, great. Okay, so listen to me. Now, always remember, now say for example, now this is my mother and this is going to be my father. As I told you, let's use the same example, brown eyes here, blue eyes. Okay, so now I am saying that out of 46 chromosome, my father is giving 23 chromosome. Out of 46 chromosome, my mother is giving 23 chromosome. That means now this is my mother's characteristic and this is also my father's characteristic. That means now this is the information relate. Now say for example, this is going to be me. Let's say this is me. Now I'm going to get the eye color. Say for example, I wanted to have the eye color before I born. Okay, now what is happening? My mother is also giving information, my father is also giving information. Now what you need to understand is, now what is happening is, now this is my chromosome. Let's say this is my chromosome. Now in this chromosome I am getting information of my father and I am getting information of my mother. Now tell me, in one chromosome, how many gene are you representing? How many gene are you representing? Now what do you need to understand? Now say in my chromosome, that means you need to understand. Now say for example, I'm going to talk about eye color. Now how many characteristics do I have? Blue color, brown color. That means one characteristic is determined by how many genes? One characteristic is determined by how many genes? It is determined by 2 genes. That means if I'm saying eye color, I am getting the eye color of my father, I am getting the eye color of my mother. So eye color of my father is also gene, eye color of my mother is also gene. So that means if I'm talking about one characteristic, that one characteristic is determining how many genes? They are determining 2 genes. If I'm saying skin color, my mother is fair, my father is tan. So which means, what do you need to understand? What do you need to understand? If I say skin color is a characteristic, so how many genes are being represented? 2 genes. One is from my father, one is from my mother. So what do you need to understand? What is inheritance? Inheritance means transferring genetic information from generation to generation. We call that as what? Inheritance. So can you name some inheritance characteristic you obtain from your parents? Like you have received eye color from your parents, skin color from your parents, height, curly hair or straight hair, attached or free earlobes, shape of your nose, folded or not folded tongue. Everything you have received from what? You have been received from your parents. Are you clear with that? Are you clear with that? Now introduction part is done. We are done with the introduction part. So introduction part in the inheritance is over. Now we are going to move with what? We are going to study about the lesson that is very important for us. Now we got an idea what is inheritance. We already got. Now we are going to study about the scientists. What did they do for the inheritance? How did they do experiments? What are the genetic diagrams, monohybrid cross, Punnett square? All these things you will be studying today. So listen to me carefully. Right, listen. Now, let's come to the story of inheritance. The first person to talk about the inheritance is the scientist Gregor Mendel. So, scientist Gregor Mendel is the person who did experiment about what? Who did the experiment about the inheritance. So this Gregor Mendel is the only person who explained the process of inheritance what clearly. He used some experiments, he used a plot to do it, to explain the process of inheritance. He used the plot, he used the garden pea plot. What did he use? He used a substance, we call it as what? Garden pea plant, to do an experiment. So this garden pea plant, now when you talk about the garden pea plant to do the experiment, now what do you say? The scientific name for the garden pea plant, we call it as what? Pisum sativum. We call it as what? Pisum sativum. Now whenever we write a scientific name, how do we write it? We have to underline it, right? So the first letter of the scientific name has to be capital. The second letter of the scientific name has to be what? Simple. So this is how you write the scientific name. So now let's see what did the Gregor Mendel do. So let's see what did the Gregor Mendel do. Actually, Gregor Mendel, he did. Now, actually, when you talk about the Gregor Mendel, he is considered as what? He is considered as the father of genetics. He is considered as what? He is considered as the father of genetics. So let's see what was his experiment. Right. Now, what is happening? Now, actually, this Gregor Mendel, he chose, what did he choose? He chose the pure breed tall garden pea plant, and he chose the pure breed short garden pea plant. So what did he do? He took two characteristics of the plant. So actually, first you have to understand the story. If you understand the story, it's easy for you to plot the diagram. Okay, so listen to me. Now what is happening is, now you know that this Gregor Mendel, he took a tall plant and he took a short plant. So Gregor Mendel took a tall plant as well as he took a short plant. Now what is happening? Now say in this plant you have the flower, and in this plant also you have the flower. Now if I wanted to do the pollination between the tall and the short, what kind of pollination should I do? I have to do what? Cross-pollination. So cross-pollination means what? Taking a pollen grain from the tall plant of the flower to the short plant of the flower, or taking the pollen grain from the short plant of the flower to the tall plant of the flower. Okay, so when he did this, he was doing cross-pollination. He was doing cross-pollination. So once he did the cross-pollination, now you know that now usually once the pollination has been taken place, it will undergo fertilization. So fertilization, what will happen? The flower will turn into what? It will turn into fruit. Now inside the fruit, what do you have? You have the seeds inside the fruit. So this Gregor Mendel, what did he do is, once after the pollination, once the fruit, now say for example they have formed the fruit between these two plants after the pollination, what did he do? He took the plant fruit, he took the fruit of these. Inside this fruit he found what? He found the seeds. So what did he do? He took the seeds, he planted the seed into the soil. So what did he do? He planted the seed into the soil. So once he planted the seed into soil, what happened is, the plants that was grown by using this seed, all the plants were tall plant. All of them were tall plant. Now what are the two characteristics did he choose? He chose the tall characteristic as well as he chose the short characteristic, right? Now what happened? The plants that showing the characteristic of who? The plant is showing the characteristic of the tall plant. That means now tall and the short, there are two types of characteristic. Can you tell me who is dominant here? Whose characteristic is dominant? Is it tall plant's characteristic is dominant, or short plant characteristic is dominant? Whose characteristic is dominant? Very good. The tall plant characteristic is dominant. Then who is recessive? The short plant characteristic is considered as what? It is considered as recessive. Now what happened? Now just think, will the short plant's characteristic will get disappear? No, it will not get disappear. But this Gregor Mendel wanted to prove that this short characteristic is not getting disappeared. No. So what did he do? Initially, he did the cross-pollination here, right? He did the cross-pollination. Now what happened is, Gregor Mendel, he did self-pollination for the plant that has been grown here. Now let's say this is going to be the generation 1 plant. Now the generation 2 plant is going to form. So how is going to form the generation 2 plant? He is going to do the self-pollination within the plant. So when you do the self-pollination, what will happen? Now once he did the self-pollination, fertilization had been taken place, then the fruit has been produced again. Now what did he do? The fruit that was produced by the plant which has been self-pollinated, he took the seeds. What did he do? He took the seeds, he planted the seeds. So once he planted the seeds, he saw that the 3 plants that were grown on the soil are tall, all 3 are tall, and 1 plant was short. 1 plant was short. Now what happened? Now when he did the self-pollination, the characteristic that was appearing here was only tall, right? How did he get the short? How did he get the short? This is where you have to remember the inheritance. What happened now? The short one has skipped 1 generation and it has been appeared in the next generation. Now, did you understand what happened? What did he do? Did you understand what did the Gregor Mendel do? Yes. So this was the experiment. This was the experiment. So this was the experiment that was done by who? Gregor Mendel. So he told that, what did he tell? He told he took a short plant. He did the self-pollination because he wanted to try, because everything is a tall plant. No? Whether you do a cross-pollination also going to be tall plant. Whether you do self-pollination is also tall plant. So there's nothing difference with that. So what happened? He did the cross-pollination between tall plant and the short plant. He produced the fruit. Once he produced the fruit, he took the seeds. So those seeds were what? Planted where? Those were planted in the soil. Whatever the plant that was grown were tall. Then he realized in the generation 1, the dominant plant, that means the dominant, who is genetically powerful? The tall plant is genetically powerful, while the short plant is not genetically powerful, which you call it as recessive. Then he did the self-pollination. He saw a short plant has been grown. So which means recessive characteristics are not completely hidden. Sometimes it can be appeared in what? It can be appeared in the next generation. Clear? Got the idea? Understood? Right. Now let me teach you how to draw. Let me teach you. Now this is like a story for you, right? This is all like with the pictures, right? Now in exam, they will ask you the same situation to be drawn without picture, with only expression. You know, algebraic expression, right? We use we use some alphabets and everything. We do some calculations in maths, right? Same like that, but not mathematically. We are doing with the logical way. We are going to understand in a logical way, and we are doing. Okay, listen. The first rule to draw the diagram, that means the first rule to draw the diagram, you have to name the parents, right? Now who is the parent here? Tall plant is the parent. Short plant is also parent. Now tall, short. Now tall and short. We are talking about what characteristic? We are talking about what? Height, no? So height is a gene, right? Height is a gene. Now when you take the height is a gene, how do you represent? Now I said the tall plant, everything was grown in the first generation, was everything was tall. So that means who is dominant? Tall is the dominant. That means how do you represent this tall by an expression? By a capital T. You represent it by what? You represent it by a capital T. Now who is recessive? Should you put it as S here? No, don't put it as S. Now capital T is the, let's say it's a powerful person. After capital T, what do you have? Simple T, right? So that means for the short person who is recessive, you are going to represent it by what? Simple T. You are going to represent it by what? You are going to represent it by the simple T. Right. Now understood. Let me draw the diagram here. I'm going to erase it out and I'm going to draw the diagram. Now tell me, what are the two parents that the Gregor Mendel chose? He chose the capital T, which means what? Now you know that I told you when you take a characteristic, one characteristic is determined by how many genes? One characteristic is determined by how many genes? Two genes. So the one who is thinking why teacher have put two T's, two capital T, because one characteristic is representing how many genes? 2G. So that's the reason I have put TT two times. Then what is happening? Capital T means a tall plant. Okay, let me write it not to get confused. I'm writing is tall plant. Then you have the short plant. So now you already know in the case that the tall plant is a dominant. No, that's what I have chosen it as what? I have chosen it as a capital T. Now short plant, I'm going to write it as a simple T. Now capital T, simple T going to undergo what? Cross-pollination. Now tell me, what are the gametes that is produced by the tall plant and the short plant? Now if I take this as a parent one, this is going to be parent one. Now the parents are going to form the gametes, right? Now say if I take the mother and the father, mother is going to produce ovum, father is going to produce the sperm, right? So same like that, the tall plant will produce, now from this T and T, both are same. So I will say one gamete has been produced. So whenever you are drawing the gamete, put a circle. Then when you take the T and T, both the T's are same, you are going to say the simple T is going to be the gamete. So simple T is going to be the gamete. Okay, now what is happening? The capital T and the simple T combining together, they will be forming what? Generation 1. They will be forming the generation 1. Now capital T is on front, simple T is on the second. That means the plant that has been produced with the cross-pollination is what? 100% what? 100% tall plant. So this was said by who? This was said by the Gregor Mendel. Okay with that? Clear with that? Right. Now what is the parent 2? Who is the parent 2? The parent 2 is this plant. The tall plant is going to do what? Self-pollination. So self-pollination means what? Capital T, simple T into capital T into simple T. That means self-pollination means the same person is being what? Pollinating. So now what are the genes you can find it here? What are the gametes you can find it here? So here you can find the gamete. Now capital T, simple T. Are they same? Are they same? No, right? That means you have two characteristics here. So because of that, I am going to write capital T separately, simple T separately. Then put a cross in between. Here also same, capital T separately, simple C separately. Now I'm going to use another color marker to make it clear what I'm going to do. This capital T will go and combine with this capital T. Just you exchange it. Now what will be the outcome? Outcome will be capital T, capital T. Now this again, the same capital T will go and combine with this person. So now what will happen? Capital T, simple T. Simple T will go and combine with this person, capital T, simple T. Again here, you see simple T, simple T. Now what do you understand? Simple T means the generation 2, you see a short plant. And here we said capital T and a simple T, 3 of them are tall plants. So this is, we call it as what? Genetic diagram according to whom? According to whom? According to the Gregor Mendel. So according to the Gregor Mendel, this is how you draw the genetic diagram. Every year you will have a genetic diagram to be completed. Therefore, you have to do like this, right? Okay, now they can ask in exam. Now, who is the dominant characteristic here? Who is the dominant characteristic here? Tall. Recessive is short. Okay. Other than that, they can ask you to write the phenotype. They can ask you to write what? Phenotype and genotype. Let me tell you what is phenotype and genotype. Phenotype means, dear, what you can see through your out. I mean, what can you see through your eyes? Now, phenotype in the generation 2. If I take the phenotype in the generation 2, can you tell me, children, what are the two characteristics I can see through my eyes? I can see tall is to short. I can see tall is to what? Tall is to short. Now tell me, how many tall plants do I have according to the generation 2 phenotype? How many tall do I have? 3 tall plant. How many short plant do I have? I have 1. So which means what's the answer for the phenotype? My phenotype is 3:1. Clear the, got the idea? Got the idea? Anyone who didn't understand? Right, very good. Now, what is genotype means? They are asking you to write the gene expression. Phenotype means, dear, what you see from your eyes. That means now here, what are the characteristics of the plant you can see? I can see a tall plant and I can see a short plant. How many tall plant I have created? 3. How many short plant do I have? 1. So that means that is phenotype. Genotype means gene expression. Now, can you tell me the gene expression in the generation 2? That means, you see, capital T, capital T. Okay, look here. Look here, how did I get 3 tall plants? Can you see? According to the Gregor Mendel story, I told you at the last, he got 3 tall plants and 1 short plant, right? So that means here you can see, here you can see capital T in front, capital T in front, capital T in front. So which means when you have capital T in front, that means you have 3 tall plants. Okay, listen from beginning. I'll tell you the story. First, understand the story. According to the story only, you are plotting the diagram. Okay, listen. Now what happened? Gregor Mendel, one day he took a short plant and a tall plant, right? So what did he do? He took the short plant and the tall plant together. He cross-pollinated. Once he cross-pollinated, he got the fruit. Inside the fruit, he found the seeds. What did he do is he put the seeds into the soil and he let the seeds to grow. Once he grew the plants, he saw that the plant that was grown in the generation 1 is all of them were tall. Then he was thinking, what happened to the short plant? So because to check what happened to the short plant, what did he do? He took the same plant and he did the self-pollination. So now when he did the self-pollination, he saw and he got the seeds. What did he do? He put the seeds into the soil and he saw the seeds were grown into what? Three tall plant and 1 short plant. That was the story. According to the story only, we have been plot the diagram. We have what? We have plot the diagram according to the story. Now, what do you need to understand? Now, since in generation 1, we saw all the plants were tall, because of that, we are using the first letter of the tall as T, as a capital T. Now, we know that one characteristic is determining how many genes? 1 characteristic is determining 2 genes. That means if I say eye color, I will get eye color from my mother, I will get eye color from my father. So that means eye color is a characteristic. How many eye color am I getting? 2 eye colors. So same like that, if I take the tall, this tall is a characteristic. No, how many gene will I have? I will have 2 gene here. Here also, if I say short, how many gene will I have? I will have 2 short. 2 T will be there. Now what is happening? Now like your parents, like a male and a female, male will be producing sperm, female will be producing what? Ovum. That is a gamete. No, same like that, the tall will be producing a gamete, capital T. Now capital T, no difference. 1 capital T will be given. Simple T, no difference. You will give a simple T, that is a gamete. Now this gamete and this gamete will combine together. Now when they combine together, automatically you can see a capital T is in front. That means who is dominant here? Tall is the dominant. So that means in the generation 1, the plants that were grown is what? 100% tall. Now what did Gregor Mendel do? What did he do? What did he do? He took the same plant and he did what? Self-pollination. So when he did self-pollination, now see here, capital T, simple T, both are different. 2 genes are here. Now mother and father, tall and short mixed together. Now you got it. So here you will have 2 gametes will be there. So that means capital T also will be there, simple T also will be there. Capital T also will be there, simple T also will be there. Now what will happen? This T and this T will combine. That means the same person will be combining with 2 people. This person also will be combining with 2 people. So the outcome will be when this T and this T combine TT, this T and this T combine T and T. So here also T and T, and here also will be simple T. Now simple T we already know that's a short one. Capital T, simple T. However, capital T is in front. No. So that means who is dominant? 3 plants are tall. And how many plants are short? 1 plant is short. Now, according to the phenotype, what you can see? According to the phenotype in the generation 2, what you can see? What are the characteristics you can see? Tall and short. How many tall plants has been produced? 3. How many short plants has been produced? 1. So genotype means gene expression. Gene expression means, look at the gene expression, will you? Look at the gene expression. Now see, capital T, how we will know which one is dominant? That means I will give a question to you. Okay, I will give a question to you. From that question, you will be doing it with me. Okay, the first listen. Now I will tell you how to find. In the exam paper itself, they will tell you dominant is this person only. Then you can simply start with that. Okay. Now, how many gene expression is there? You can see gene expression. Capital T is one gene expression. Capital T, simple T is a one gene expression. Simple T is also one gene expression. So that means, how many capital T do you have? 1. How many simple T, capital T? 2 times. And here, this is the answer for the gene expression. Clear? Got it? Did you understand? Did you understand? Clear with that? Not because he's adopted Abdul Ahad. It's because of maybe he might be inheriting their grandparents' characteristic or great-grandparents' characteristic. It depends on that. Okay? So same thing happens with my family also. My mother is very fair. Their mother and their father is very dark. Their siblings also very dark. Then how did my mother become very fair? It's because their grandfather is very fair. He's an Englishman. So because of that only, she has been fair. So it's because of the generation has been inherited. Any one of the child can have the like past generation. They can have different ways. Okay, shall we do a question related to this? Now you are going to do it alone. So I have to teach you to draw Punnett square also. So before we go to the Punnett square, first we'll get into this. Okay, so let me give a question to you. Let me give a question to you. Give a try with this. Okay, a student took pure breed. I'm just giving a random question, okay? A student took pure breed, round seed, and wrinkled seed, okay? And cross-pollinated, okay? Then the student received the plants. The student received the plants that was grown after pollination. After pollination is all round seed. Okay, look at this question and tell me who is dominant here. Who is dominant here? Simply tell me. Now, the one who asked me questions like how we understand, very good. So round seed is what? Round seed is the dominant here. Okay. So question number 1. Question number 1. Mention the dominant characteristic. Dominant characteristic. To draw the genetic diagram for the above situation. Okay. Question number 3. Then the student self-pollinated the round seed plants. Draw the genetic diagram for the generation 2. You don't want to write any questions. If you like, you can write it. Other than that, nothing. Draw the genetic diagram for the generation 2. Generation 2. Generation 2. That's question number 3. Question number 4. Identify the genotype and phenotype. Identify the genotype and the phenotype. Okay. No need to write the question. Do it and let me know. I'll give you around, 10. No, 10 is too much. 7 minutes. Yeah. I'll give you around 7 minutes. Give a try and see. If you can do this one, Punnett square is easy peasy. Punnett square will be easy peasy. If you can do this, Punnett square is easy. That's very simple also. I'll tell you how to do that. But before that, do it, will you? It's easy. Yeah, while you do it, I'm just checking the text if it is, yeah. Not any letters, not any letters. Tell me, dear, who is dominant here? Round, no? What is the starting letter of the round? R, no? So that means for the dominant, capital R, capital R. Then if it is a wrinkle, are you going to put it W? Don't put it W. The same letter in simple. Simple R, simple R. That's how you do it. Okay? Now, wait, I'll read out the question. Draw the genetic diagram for the above situation 1. Okay, then students self-pollinated the round seed plants. Draw the genetic diagram for the generation 2. Identify the phenotype and genotype. I hope the question is clear. If you are done, we can get started. Okay, right. We'll do it together. I'll erase it. We'll do it together, okay? Okay, I'll give you 2 minutes. Quickly do it. I'll erase it out. So what are the 2 characteristics did we have? 1, we had the round seed. It was cross-pollinated with the wrinkled seed. And then you understood that. And then you understood, but did you understand? You understood that the round seed has been grown in the generation 1, which means who is dominant here? Round seed is dominant. So you represent it by capital R, capital R. Then here, simple R, simple R. Okay, that means these are the parent 1. They are parent 1. Then what is the gamete 1 here? So from the capital R, you will be having a gamete. That will always remember, you have to circle the gamete. It's compulsory. Then from here, you will get a gamete simple R. Then capital R, simple R combining together, you will be forming the generation 1, F1 generation 1. So then what will happen? Capital R and simple R together. Here you will have whom? You will have 100% what? 100% round seed. So this is according to the question number 2. You will have the answer. Then he said what? They said in the question, then the what did you understand? Then the round seed has been self-pollinated with the round seed. That means who is the parent to round seed combining self-pollinated with the round seed. Now what are the gametes do we have? Now you know capital R, simple R, two different gametes. So we will draw capital R circle like this, simple R circle like this. Put across capital R like this, and then simple R like this. So I'll use another color marker to make it clear. So what will happen? This capital R will combine with this capital R. So you will get what? R and R. This capital R will go and combine with this simple R. R and R. Then this one will go and combine with this one. So capital R, simple R. Again, simple R, simple R. So that means, so these are the outcomes. That means 3 round seed has been grown, 1 wrinkled seed has been grown. Now, what is the phenotype here? What is the phenotype here? Phenotype, what you can see. According to the generation 2, what is the phenotype? If they ask you phenotype in generation 1, remember phenotype is only tall, okay? Tall, what you can see here. But your phenotype in generation 2, what is the phenotype? We will write it as round is to wrinkle seed. So round is to wrinkle seed. How many round seed do we have? 3:1. Very good. Now, what is the genotype? What is the gene expression in generation 2? What is the genotype? So genotype means we will have capital R one time and simple R and capital R. Yes. And then simple R, simple R. 1:2, 2:1. If you have done this, fully correct. If they ask you to write the genotype for the generation 1, this is the genotype. This is going to be the genotype. That's it. They will not ask for the generation 1. They will always ask for the generation 2 because you have varieties here. Okay, now come to the Punnett square, will you? We'll go to the Punnett square. Now, what is the Punnett square is about? So, Punnett square for the generation 1. How to draw the Punnett square for the generation 1? How to draw the Punnett square for the generation 2? Now, instead of you're doing like this, the opposite way to be done, the easiest way to be done to get the final answer, we call it as Punnett square. For the Punnett square, you will be using 3 columns. So not 3 columns, sorry, 2 columns with 2 rows. 2 columns with what? 2 rows. Okay. Will you be able to explain the genotype and phenotype? Simply, phenotype means what you can see. What you can see, 3 round seeds and 1 wrinkled seed. So round is to wrinkle. What you can see only, we call it as phenotype. Genotype means, look at this RR. Simple R, capital R, simple R, capital R, simple R, simple R. This is gene expression. So this gene expression only, you are writing it here as a genotype. Clear? Phenotype, what you see. Genotype, what you feel, like what you have written. So that is, we call it as what? Genotype and phenotype, right? Punnett square. How to draw the Punnett square for the situation 1? How to draw the Punnett square for the situation 1? Now remember, here you have to write gametes. Here you have to write the gametes. Can you tell me what are the gametes? Are they in the round and wrinkle? So if you can write it here capital R, and if you write it as a simple R, capital R, simple R together, what is your answer? Capital R and simple R. So this is what you have written as a Punnett square. How you can draw the Punnett square here? How can you draw the Punnett square? For this one, you have to do three columns with 3 rows. 3 columns with 3 rows. That means totally 9 boxes you should have. So 3 columns with 3 rows. Okay, 3 rows. Now, what are the gametes do we have? What are the gametes do we have? We have the gamete capital R and simple R. Right here, capital R, simple R. Again here, capital R, simple R. So these are the gametes we have. So what are the R and R combined together? RR. This R and this R combined together, capital R, simple R. This R and this R and R. What you did here only, you did it as a column. Clear? Got it? Remember here, 2 columns, 2 rows, 3 columns, 3 rows. Simply you can do it. So this is how you draw the Punnett square for the situation. Any doubts in the Punnett square? Yes. Any doubts in the Punnett square? Punnett square, instead of you're writing the parent, you are directly writing the gamete. You are directly writing the gamete. So this corner side, you give it as a gamete. What are the gametes do you have? Capital R and simple R. When these two combine together, what will happen? Capital R and simple R. So that which means this one, you have written. So that is only we call it as Punnett square. Here, what is the Punnett square? What are the gametes we have? Capital R, simple R, capital R, simple R. So when this R and R combine together, R, R. This R and this R, capital R, simple R. This one, capital R and simple R. Simple R and simple R. Clear? Yes, yes. So you will have 9 columns over here. Any doubts? Any doubts? Yes. Any doubts? You will have 9 boxes. Just remember, instead of 9 boxes, you can write 3 columns, 3 rows is simple. So that's how you do the Punnett square. Right. Okay. So we are done with what? We are done with the genetic diagram, Punnett square. Now, who is considered as the father of genetics? Gregor Mendel. So we studied how he explained the genetics. He used the garden pea plant, Pisum sativum, to teach the what? Inheritance. So when he explained the genetics, he discovered 7 contrasting genetic characteristics. How many contrasting genetic characteristics did he discover while he was doing this experiment? 7 contrasting what? Genetic characteristics. Say, for example, he discovered the height of the plant. He discovered the flower of the plant, the Pisum sativum. From the Pisum sativum only, he discovered 7 characteristics like color of the plant, height of the plant. He did the shape of the plant like round seed, wrinkle seed. He did everything and he got the same answer. So other characteristics you can check in your textbook. So what did he do is he did so many experiments and he discovered how many contrasting characteristics, 7 contrasting characteristics. So that's what Gregor Mendel did to explain the characteristics of what? Genetics. So what happened, you know, when he was talking about the height, he was just, what he was doing is he was just comparing the height with like short, tall, one characteristic with another. So when he explained the genetics, what happened, you know, he did one characteristic at a time. He did one characteristic at a time. So because of that, all the experiments were like same answers. He got the same answers. He did with the wrinkle seed. He did with the colors of the flower. Everything he got the same answer. And he did, how did he do the experiment? One characteristic at a time. This is only, we call it as what? Monohybrid cross. Instead of, we call in your exam they will ask you to draw the monohybrid cross. So monohybrid cross means what? This is only, we call it as monohybrid cross. So monohybrid cross means, what did he do? He just took only one characteristic like height, only short and tall he did. So that characteristic, we call it as what? That kind of an experiment, we call it as what? Monohybrid cross. Now imagine if I take more than one characteristic and if I do an experiment, that's going to be dihybrid cross. That is, we call it as what? Dihybrid cross. You will learn that in your A levels, but for now you will be talking only about monohybrid cross, which is only about one characteristic at a time, which was introduced by whom? Which was introduced by the Gregor Mendel. So if he talk about height, he will only talk about height. If he's only talking about the color of flowers, he will only talk about the color of the flowers. Did he compare the height and the colors together? No. So now say the Gregor Mendel was lucky. He was lucky. What is the reason he was lucky? Because he considered all the 7 characteristics separately. He got the same result. The genotype and the phenotype for everything was same. So because of that, did he have any confusion? Did he have any problems? No. So everyone thought whatever you do, you get the same ratio. But there was another scientist. His name is Morgan, but he's also same like Gregor Mendel. He said this is not going to be correct. That means he is going to do extra. What did he do? He did some extra experiment to identify whether this is going to be correct. So listen to me. We are going to talk about what? We are going to talk about the scientist Morgan. So there is a scientist. His name is Morgan. What did he do is he chose the shoe flower plant. So the shoe flower plant has two color flowers, right? Now there is a red color flower. There is a white color shoe flower. So according to the Gregor Mendel, F1 generation, you will get either one red flower or either you will get white flower. No, which means according to the Gregor Mendel, if you get white flower, we say white is the dominant characteristic. If you get the red flower, red is the dominant characteristic. So that is what according to the Gregor Mendel you studied. Did you understand? But what did the Morgan do is he took a red color flower and he took a white color flower. What did he do? When a red color flower combined together with a white color flower, what happened? He said that he didn't produce either red or a white color. He just combined both the flowers and he got what? Pink color flower. Now what has happened to the both the colors of the flower? They are depending on each other, right? But according to the Gregor Mendel, they were not dependent. They were independent. Those characteristics were independent. Now here, the characteristic has been mixed together. So if they have mixed together, what can you say? When two genes has been combining together, we call these as what? Gene linkage. So who is the scientist who brought up the who brought up the heading called gene linkage? That is Morgan. So what did the Morgan said? Morgan said every time you won't be getting a characteristic either red or white, there is a situation where the both of the characteristics can be what? Depending on each other. That is what we call it as what? Gene linkage. So who is the scientist who introduced the gene linkage? That is Morgan. So he said what? What did he say? Now say for example, there is short people. There's a short woman and there's a tall man. Now what is happening? Now what is happening when a short woman and tall man combining together? If they are producing baby, will they get only one tall child? Or will they get very short child? Or will they get a baby who is medium height between the tall and the short? What will happen? They will be getting a baby that will be having the height between tall and the short. So this is what we call it as what? Gene linkage. So we will be talking about the gene linkage in our next class. If you are interested to join, definitely yes. And as I told you, upcoming month, like we have only 2 weeks left to complete this month. So upcoming month, you will have free recap classes. You can join it for free. So that is going to be only important lessons will be covered, like around 5-6 lessons will be covered. If you want to be a part of that, then definitely you can drop me a text. I will update you the details. So yeah, we will continue about this in the next class because gene linkage is a huge heading. As you know, we are lacking a bit of time. We will be doing it in our next class. If you wanted to join our theory class, definitely you can contact this number. Or if you wanted to join our fast track class, definitely you can contact this number. Other than that, see you. I hope the lesson was interesting. I hope the lesson was easy to understand than other days. Have a good day. Take care. Good night. Barakallah. You are welcome.